It's alright. You got your cup of Joe and it's 8 o'clock at night, and I told you I felt like you were committing suicide by having a cup of coffee this late at night.
My body's used to it.
When did you become such a passionate coffee lover? Was this like at an early age, or did you figure it out later on?
That comes with a funny story if you want to hear it. So, my dad used to do bus routes for our church, and after the bus route, he would always take his kids with him. After the bus routes, we would always stop by and get a drink from a gas station or something like that. And I was six years old at the time. 6 years old, yeah. And he would always buy me those like little Starbucks, like cold frappuccino things. And that's the first time I ever really remember drinking much coffee. My mom hated it. Was so mad at him that he would do that. But yeah, that's probably the first time I started. And then my family's always been big coffee drinkers, and it's just something we've always done, like socially.
Yeah. This is the question that I really wanted to ask you is, why did you decide to purchase this place and then start your own coffee shop? Because this was a coffee shop before you. Was it under the same name? Was it still on Common Grounds?
It was on Common Grounds then. Yeah. Okay. So I actually worked here as a barista right after I moved here and got married. Got married and then moved here. So I worked here as a barista for the previous owner, and it was kind of like always loved coffee, so it was the perfect job for me, and it was probably the best job I've ever had. The people that I worked with were awesome, and I love the environment. I'm a very talkative person, so I'm good at like talking to people and stuff like that. So it seemed like a really good fit. And then I had my son and my daughter and all of that, and had decided that I was gonna be a stay-at-home mom, which I loved and I miss. But she had mentioned to me that she was selling the place, and I told her, I would be interested, but she had somebody that she that was already planning to buy it. Well, it ended up falling through, and we ended up, trying to go through the motions of everything and buy the place, and it worked out. So it's kind of, I don't know, it's one of those things that I've always thought about, because I would always go into coffee shops. I mean, we as a family always went to tons of different coffee shops.
Yeah.
Growing up in northwest of Chicago, there were tons of options.
Yeah.
Tons of really cool small coffee shops, and we went to a lot of them. And you go into them and you always see the things that you really like in coffee shops and in the drinks there. And then you also see the things that you would be like, I would do it this way, So, so it's always been something like in the forefront of my mind.
So, do you think like back then you started planning out a vision, like if there was one day where you owned a coffee shop, what you would do with it, like the intricate design, where you would place tables, menu items?
I don't know if I would say like that far into it, but like I definitely thought about, I envisioned in my mind how I think the perfect coffee shop would be.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't think we've quite gotten there yet, but we're still working on, making this place the place that I want it to be.
I like what you guys have done. I feel like it's a friendly environment to come in here and sit, and I'm surprised that I don't see more people like my age, like college kids, sitting down and talking, and that kind of frustrates me, because that's just what I want, in this age of social media, and really feeling more distance than close to each other over a phone, that I would rather come into a coffee shop and just talk. Like we were saying earlier about the things that we like about coffee is not necessarily just for the taste, but all the things that you do with coffee, how you add it into your life.
Yeah, the social aspect of it is like one thing that is why I love drinking coffee. And yeah, I don't really, it's kind of something that's been puzzling to me too, is why I don't have as many younger people in here as I would like. Actually, when you ask me, I'm like, well, he's younger, he's got a lot of younger friends, maybe they're the ones that watch his podcast, so maybe this will help with that, I don't know, but I don't know, it's something that we've kind of thought about and have tried to work on to see what we can do to change that.
Yeah.
We're open to ideas, so
Yeah.
Anybody has any ideas?
Well, because normally what you see, at least in the morning, is the older gentlemen, the older crowd.
Yes.
I guess maybe like when school was going on, I think I saw a few more students in here, but you know, there's so much room in here. You know, if you wanted to come in and study, you wanted to, I don't know, sometimes I would just come in here and like journal or to get out of the house. Like, I mean, sometimes I wouldn't have anything to do in the morning and I come here just to watch like fun videos on YouTube and sip some coffee or like, lately it's been mostly I come here for food.
Right.
I forgot to.
Because I'm such an amazing cook.
Well, your turkey club is phenomenal. I don't know why, but that's my favorite sandwich. And then I just like that with the combination of the organic power bar. But I'm not doing. I'm taking a month off of coffee, and I was afraid to tell you because doing a podcast with this guy. I am because it's a fun place, and
actually that's one thing that I sometimes wonder why people don't come in here is maybe because they don't drink coffee, and I think maybe younger people are not drinking as much coffee sometimes because, you know, I don't know, they're trying to take a month off of it.
Yeah.
But I try to make sure people know that we have other things like coffee. We have quite a few other things like coffee.
Yeah.
I mean, we have really awesome organic teas from a local place in Valley Junction, and we have some really good like chai teas. We have smoothies. We have a bunch of things. Like, you don't have to be a coffee drinker to come in.
Yeah. I think any good coffee shop looks at ways that they can diversify their menu or the things that they offer, but it's also like the environment too. It doesn't have to be just strictly coffee, although I think a majority of the people that come here probably do get coffee.
Right.
But yeah, I would advise anybody that is wanting to try out a new place, like, I mean, you guys just made me it was the banana, the peanut butter banana like smoothie.
How was that?
That was delicious.
Good.
And so, you know, and then that kind of reminds me of places like Acai, as I was telling you, is they started with the idea of the acai bowl, but then they started to branch out and make like salads, like sandwiches, all these different things that they put into their menu so that you can try different things when you come here. And so, yeah, like other than, I'm sure like a podcast with a younger audience would help, but are there other things that you have thought about that you've tried to initiate to bring in younger people and just haven't worked or not worked as much as you thought they would?
Well, one thing that we knew we wanted to do immediately, as soon as we possibly could, was to do some renovations and kind of liven the place up and make it a little bit lighter and airier. And I think when people drink coffee, just like we were talking before, it's not just the coffee that they're coming for, they're also coming for the experience. So when somebody comes into a coffee shop, they want to feel a certain way, you know, and I wanted to make people feel a certain way when they came in, and I did think that would be like a big thing, was kind of like the renovations, you know, people, and it did at first, like there was quite a few people in here when we first reopened back up. We had really, really good business because everybody wanted to see the new renovations and everything. But yeah, I think at first it did, but again, it still didn't seem like younger people.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, people I would say around my age, still but like young college age kids, you know, high schoolers and stuff. I didn't feel like that, and I don't know if it's because they don't think about local coffee shops as much, or if it's just I'm not getting the word out in the right way to them.
Well, and you guys are so close to a college, you know, that you think that would bring in traffic. And I know you have a few employees on staff that go to Simpson, so not to say that two people that talk about it that work for you are going to make a huge difference, but maybe, I feel like it's just a point of people not knowing, you know, and I was pretty new to coming to this place like right before you did the renovation, so I didn't really get to experience it before you did that. But I think it's more of just, like getting the word out so that people hear about it and bring them in that way. But I mean, also there's challenges of like currently what we're facing. So I'm assuming that, you know, I mean, you guys didn't even close though, that's the thing. And I was super impressed by how you guys handled it. Yeah.
But we wanted to stay open through everything. Even if we were open for shorter hours at first for a little while, just because I was trying to cut down on how many employees I had working. So it was mostly just me during those times, and that was the way that we were able to kind of like stay open. I think it was a good idea to stay open through it, just because people knew we were open. Being consistent, I think, is a really big thing.
Yeah. Did you face any like did you take? I'm sure you took a hit, but was it like? Do you feel confident in moving forward that you'll rebound from it? Like it's nothing that would sink you guys, because there are a lot of local businesses that have suffered and were already suffering before everything went on.
I do think we'll come back from it for sure. We did get some help with the paycheck protection program thing that they did. So we did get a little help with that, which I would have been a little more worried about if we hadn't, but it definitely helped. And I do feel confident that we'll be able to make it back. Hopefully this summer. A lot of things have been canceled this summer, so maybe people will be looking for something to do. We're usually pretty busy during the summer anyway, but maybe people will be looking for something to do, and business will pick up. It seems like it already has since the weather has gotten nicer.
Have you guys ever done like live events or anything, music in this place? Like maybe.
I have thought about doing something like that during the Christmas. I don't even remember
Tour
what.
home.
No, the tour homes is part of it, but they used to call it the holiday extravaganza. They didn't want to call it that this year because it was smaller because of the whole
construction site.
Construction site situation, and we didn't have the space and all that. So they didn't want to call it that because it was going to be smaller. So I don't remember what it was called. But during that, we had a friend of ours who plays the violin in here playing the violin the whole time. And I'd love to do more stuff like that. That would be really cool. But it would definitely have to be something that we planned, events on Facebook and things like that, so people would have to know about.
Yeah. Well, I was just thinking, like it's summertime, a lot of people would normally go out to like festivals, enjoy concerts, any musical events, and a lot of that's getting canceled right now. And I feel like maybe that would be something of interest to bring in a performance aspect where even if it's not super late at night, you could just have people come in here, listen to some live music. I think that music always brings people together, just as much as like coffee does. So if you intertwine both of those aspects, maybe it would draw in a larger crowd.
I agree. Yeah, that's a really good idea, and I think that it would be, like you said, even better during this summer when a lot of things are being canceled.
Yeah, it's just tough because it's Indianola, and like we're getting bigger, but we're still a small town.
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
I think when the new courthouse gets up, we won't have somewhat of an eyesore that we have right now.
Yeah.
And
it's getting a little bit better just because you can see that they're actually working.
Progress.
Yeah.
It's hopeful.
Yeah. There's an ounce of hope out there in the air.
Yes, like it is happening.
Right. When do you know when they're planning on being done? Have they announced that?
When things were first going on, when they first finally got it all settled and approved, whatever. I read in an article that they said it could take up to 2 years. However, they only
That's a long time.
Yeah. But I don't know. It could be less than that because they only started in April. Doing even digging. I think they broke ground in April, and we see walls down there. In the pit.
We hope they're working.
I see them working out there all the time.
Yeah. So is it just like honestly, I'm not too caught up on what the whole dilemma was with the old courthouse. Was it just not functional?
So I was told that it would have been more expensive to treat the building because they found asbestos and black mold or something like that. Don't quote me on that because I'm not positive, but something like that, and it would be more expensive to kind of fix that problem than it would, which
Yeah.
start over.
Yeah, I think that's what the rumors were, is it just wasn't sustainable. I don't know how many people they kept there that they arrested, but it was a small building. I don't know. I mean, you're in a small town.
And it's not a very large space.
Yeah, so I mean, is it just going to be like an updated facility? Like, you can't really make it bigger.
Yeah.
And then one of the biggest attractions here in Indianola is like bike night, you know? And
Yeah.
you can't, they're not having bike night, right? This year at
I
all?
don't think so.
And I don't even know if that's because of what's going on in the world or
Yeah,
if that's
I
because
think
of
it is.
that thing tore out.
Because I do think maybe they were doing it before all this. They were planning to before all this happened. But I don't think, I don't know, I'm not sure. I want to say that they had tried to do it before everything happened, but I can't remember.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a big attraction. I mean, I was kind of worried about it when we had Drag Bri because so like, what's going to happen?
Yeah.
I mean, usually the
Yeah.
whole party and everything is right there
Right.
on the courtyard,
Yep,
you know?
Yep. That's where all the
I mean,
drunk
it ended
people
up-
are.
It ended up working out. We made a good bit of money. But the only problem was is we fizzled out pretty quickly late at night when the concert started over at Simpson, so everything was away from the square. So when it used to be on the square. So that did affect it a bit.
Have you ever thought about, like, if you guys were in a position that you would branch out and maybe like open up another location, say maybe Des Moines?
I wouldn't take that off the table. It would be quite a bit in the future that we do that. But if we were doing well enough that we could do that, yes. Yeah, I would. I mean, again, that's me answering this question right now. We haven't thought about all of the things that go with that.
Right. Well, we were just talking earlier before we started the podcast about the unknown, the fear of the unknown, which that's more of a dream that I think obviously that would excite you for that to happen, but you have no control over it.
Right.
You have to be present right now, especially as a business owner, just do what you can do to try and make some money and rebound off of this whole thing. Because there are people that are struggling a lot worse.
Yeah. I'm very thankful for the community of Indianola because there have been so many people that know the small businesses are struggling and have done their best to really help out small businesses. I mean, I don't know if you know the whole Scott Duncan and the Feed It Forward thing that he saw it another community doing it and then he decided to start it here. He raised so much money and went around and bought gift cards from all the small businesses and donated them.
Okay.
So yeah, that helped out a lot. We've had so many customers just come in and donate money.
Yeah.
Even if they didn't feel comfortable like coming in and getting a drink or whatnot,
Right.
they still would come in and just give money
Right.
and not just the monetary support, but the moral support as well. There's so many people that have tried to be so positive
Yeah.
about it.
Well, I think we need more of that in these times. That's special to find from people. Like I was telling you earlier, I think it's just, we don't have to get into it too much, but there is a lot of negativity that you just want to find, like even if it's little aspects of hope. So even just thinking about how that place is hopefully going to be built in 2 years or
It's
under 2
like the
years.
light at the end of the tunnel. Yeah.
Right. Like
Even
there's something
if it's
there.
a 2-year-long tunnel,
Right.
I mean, there's
Yeah.
still a light.
Yeah, but you know that progress is on the way.
Yeah.
Was the renovation a long process to get done? I mean, it really, like, what you did is because you had like the counter
Yeah,
this
we moved
way.
the entire counter, ripped out all the carpet, that was the process, and put down the flooring that's in here. Painted all the walls, all the trim. It was quite the process. We actually only closed down for a week.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's impressive.
But we slept very little. So especially my husband, he's a beast. He really I think he probably got 10 hours of sleep that entire week.
Jeez.
Yeah, took off work to do it. He's pretty cool.
I'm surprised that he was so productive on
he's
that
kind of
limited
person.
amount of sleep.
He is that kind of person. He is a go person. He wakes up at 6 a.m. ready to go.
To do what? Just conquer his
Everything.
day?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. He's awesome. I'm not that kind of person. I'm actually, for somebody who has to get up early and owns a coffee shop and, you know, all that stuff, I am not a morning person at all. I'm
It's
a
very
night owl.
surprising.
Yeah. I could stay up until 2 a.m., but when I wake up in the morning, I am not nice.
You gotta have your cup of joe first.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think it would be really interesting for you to try a monthly challenge like I'm on right now. This is my second month ever doing no coffee. I didn't say no caffeine because really my problem is coffee. Back in March of 2019, me and my friends did a thing called No Mocha March where none of us had coffee because we were all addicted. And at that time, I told you that I was drinking 5 cups of coffee. Now, I remember some of those days, like some of the simplest things that I was doing were so exciting with 5 cups of coffee because it's so much energy being transferred through your body. I remember I'd just be playing like Fortnite or something, or like watching a TV show that I really liked, and I felt so energetic, and I started like almost daydreaming. I was like, man, this is awesome. This is some really good energy that I have going right now. And so then when we went to No Mocha March, you know, I thought like, all right, I'll wean off for the last week of February. No, I didn't. I had 5 cups each day because I'm like, I'm not gonna have it for a month, and that withdrawal was terrible. I mean, for at least 5 days as much as you drink, I would I'd like to see what would happen to
so
you.
we were talking earlier, but I actually told you like, oh, I'm always caffeinated, so I don't really know how I would be without it, blah blah blah. But I didn't think about the fact. It's actually funny. With both my pregnancies, you can still have some caffeine, but the smell of coffee and the taste of coffee made me which is so weird.
When you were pregnant?
Yes. So I actually didn't drink much coffee when I was pregnant with both my
Really?
kids. And I don't really remember. I mean, I was extremely tired all the time, but you are when you're pregnant.
Yeah.
But yeah, I actually didn't think about that when we were talking earlier. But yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Is there like science to back that up? Like this is a
I
common
mean-
thing. Well, obviously you don't want to drink like much caffeine when you're pregnant, but
Right.
that foul smell, like almost like a reaction. You know, like if you ever like throw up a certain food and then you don't want to eat it again.
Yeah.
Well, actually, there was one time where I threw up coffee and I almost had this taste aversion,
Yeah.
to it, and I was like, no,
Yeah. This
not
cannot be happening to
not
me.
coffee. I
Yeah.
cannot live without coffee for the rest of my life.
Yeah. I mean, it's the hormones. The same reason why you crave things would be the same reason why you have diversions to things.
Yeah.
A lot of women have diversions to things when they're pregnant, and apparently, unfortunately, it was one of those things that like I hated so much because I wanted to want it, but I didn't.
Yeah, that'd be a tough battle to. But also at the same time, I think it'd be easier because you know that you can't have it with having kids. When you take on the challenge of just doing it without coffee for an entire month, when you really don't have to.
Right.
You're just seeing if you can do it. And my thing is really where I got the idea, at least for this month, is there's this YouTuber that I watch and he does monthly challenges, and I just felt like, you know, I kind of want to do that. I want to like every month I want to try something different, like abstain from something and see how it feels.
It's like
because
fasting.
right. And you know, with coffee, like there are a bunch of benefits. I think it is pretty healthy for you. It stimulates bowel movement. There's a lot of good things about it. But I think also you could like reset those levels, those frequencies in your body, kind of become to a natural state where then when you come back, hopefully that feeling of euphoria almost, it's like being on a drug, all of a sudden comes back.
Well, actually, I was talking to my sister about this, and she's pretty smart. She's a pretty smart kid.
Which
but,
one? We got too many
my
sisters,
young-
let's clarify.
Right. My youngest sister.
Okay.
She's graduated.
Shout out to her, she's watching
she's
Netflix
back
over there.
But yeah, she's pretty smart. But she basically, if I am repeating the way she said it, I learned something new about coffee from her, is that coffee actually shrinks the veins or something like that. So you have less blood flow going on in your, or it might be the opposite. I don't remember. We could get her on here to clarify. But so when you're off of it, they go back, and that's what can cause headaches. because the excess blood flow.
Cause headaches when you're still drinking it, or then when you get off?
When you get off of it, you have
Yeah.
excess blood flow.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. If I understood what she said correctly.
Well,
but yeah, it can cause you to have those headaches.
Well, it makes sense because, like we were saying earlier, is that people don't really think of coffee as a drug, but it is like low key a drug.
I mean, it is. It's caffeine. The caffeine is what's a drug.
Right.
And, yeah.
And I don't.
It's just not impairing.
Well, I was just about to say, like, I don't think it's addictive. I think it's more of like a dependency thing. So, like, if you start to build a routine where for me it was like, in the mornings, let's say back during when school was going on and I get done with my first class and then I have a break between my first class and my second class, I come home, I make my coffee, and then I start writing in my journal. And like maybe let's say that I get on a pattern of like I've had a few journal entries that were like really inspiring, really creative, that now I'm associating the high of that caffeine that has now entered my system with this creative surge that comes out on paper. So now I want to reproduce that same effect each and every day.
Right.
So I think that's a thing.
Right.
It's like
it's
people
not,
get those
it's
patterns.
not just the caffeine and everything, but it's also like I was kind of talking about before. The things that I love about coffee is the things that I do while I'm drinking coffee. It's just one of those things that you like to do together. So when you're doing certain things that you like while drinking coffee, you're associating the two together. So it's like coffee makes those things better.
Yeah. It is true though. I mean, like I said earlier, sometimes I'll have a bad day and it's like the midpoint through the day and I need something that'll turn it around. And like, let's just say that the sun is out, the sun is shining down on you, and then you have that cup of coffee, and then all of a sudden you feel better about your day, or like you can kick ass for the second half of the day. I truly think coffee offers that. It's like, it doesn't matter what happened in the morning. We can succeed later and get back on track.
Yes. Yeah. Like I said, I'm more productive the second part of the day. I don't know why. I'm not a morning person, and so it takes me a long time to like get in the groove of the day, even with coffee. Yeah. It takes me a long time to get in the groove of the day, and then once I do, I'm like, oh yeah, let's do this.
Yeah.
Get things done. I don't know.
I feel
and then
that.
I like to stay up late to get things done.
Right. So you must be a night owl.
Yes.
Nocturnal.
Yeah. Oh yeah. For sure.
Yeah. I think that like in the morning, especially like if you're gonna go out and talk to people, like the first few people that I talk to, like I'm not really coherent at that moment because I'm still like trying to wake up. But then after a few of those people have come into contact with me and they understand that, then things start to get rolling. Like it takes a while. And lately what I've been doing is I've been working out in the morning if I can. And I love it because to start your day out like that, you have a leg up, I feel like, on a lot of other people. Like maybe some people are out working, hustling, getting money or whatever. But I feel like to get like that workout that a lot of people are deprived of because they work office jobs, like you already have a head start on your day by doing something physically exertive like that.
Yeah, and I wish that I didn't already have to get up so early so that I could work out before, because I'm the same way. When I work out in the morning, it's like the rest of the day is great. Like I have so much more energy. I feel like I have a clear head. I can get stuff done and everything. But unfortunately, at this time, doesn't really fit the schedule very much. Waking up at 4 a.m. is not a good thing.
You wake up at 4 a.m. for this place?
No, that's what I would have to do in order to work out.
I mean, you'd be a badass though if you got up at 4 and you got a workout done, then you come to work.
I don't think I want to.
No? Yeah. You should probably value sleep.
Yeah.
When do you go to bed then?
Well, I try to go to bed around 10, but I don't like it. I have to in order to be able to get up.
So I just find it hard that you don't have any problems getting to sleep with as much caffeine as you consume.
I eat, my mom drinks a lot of coffee too, and if she drinks coffee too late, she cannot sleep. I don't know why I don't, but I don't know, my body must just be used to it.
Because I'm sure that as being such an avid coffee lover, that caffeine has a half-life of 6 hours, and it has, is it like a fourth of a life or whatever at 12 hours or something like that? So it's still in your brain, and so I mean that's why like I don't ever have, like I will cut myself, just about swallowed something. I will cut myself off at noon. Or like sometimes I'll be a little lenient and have it at like 1 or 2 p.m.
Yeah.
But I'll never go past that after my experience with the red eye.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I drink coffee up until bedtime. I mean, I do. At home, my favorite way to drink coffee is a French press, which is actually like even stronger than just your normal cup of Joe. But yeah, it doesn't affect me. The only thing that really affects me, like we were talking about earlier, is espresso. Just affects me in a different way. Not necessarily like keeps me awake more because I can still go to sleep after I drink it, but it makes me jittery. It makes me more jittery for some reason.
Have you ever gone down the route of a red eye?
Yeah, I actually. So funny. So I told you I always drink my normal cup of coffee in the morning with a little half and half in it. But like during the day, if somebody orders a drink and we brew 2 shots of espresso and they only need 1 for their drink, they walk away and I don't have another customer to come in to use that shot for, it goes in my drink.
Oh my god.
I feel like some days it ends up where I'm just drinking a cup of espresso.
Yeah.
So probably not the best thing for you. But
Have you ever had any bad experiences with a red eye?
no.
No,
I mean,
not at all.
but again, like I was telling you before, I've been drinking coffee since I was like 6 years old. So
Right. Don't they say like when you're younger, like it stunts your growth if you have coffee at a young age, or is that just?
I'm pretty sure that's a wives' tale.
It's just an
Yeah,
urban
an old
legend.
one,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know,
think there's
'cause-
actually truth to that.
Yeah, there probably isn't. I mean,
My genes have made me not be the tallest person in the world, but
yeah, because like
I'm good with it.
I didn't start drinking coffee until I was actually in college. Like I waited a long time before I had it, but I instantly got addicted to it.
Yeah.
But I've never had problems taking a break from it. Like doing these monthly challenges, I think they seem daunting and hard at the beginning because it is just nice to have at some point throughout the day. Like that's the thing
Something
that
you enjoy that you have to give up.
right. So now you almost have to replace that with something else to get you through the day. Like I don't know. Like lately I've been incorporating like going out on my motorcycle, not my motorcycle, it's my dad's motorcycle, but riding around. Like it's hot this time of year, especially in Iowa. It's very humid, but it almost feels better this time of year on a bike because you get that nice cool breeze that hits your face.
Fresh.
And I feel like it's just so relaxing to get out and like take in all the scenery and just feel that on your face. You know, be desensitized from like a screen.
Yeah.
Because everybody's spending time looking at that.
Yeah. I can't do that, and that's one of the things. Like I keep saying, like I was saying earlier, but I don't like to sit down for too long. So I get this feeling if I'm looking at a screen for too long that I'm like, okay, I can't do this anymore, and I have to get up and I have to do something.
Yeah.
But I don't like the whole everything is electronics and all that. I just wish that people would notice what's around them. They're so connected. An old pastor of mine used to say, people are so connected they're disconnected.
It's very true though. That's a very true
They're so
statement.
connected through their phones that they're disconnected from what's actually going around them.
Yeah.
Around them.
I don't know. I understand that technology advances, we evolve as people, we figure out different things, we're good at problem solving, we're continuously coming up with the best solutions,
which can actually be a really great thing.
which is great, but I also think that, like you said, this is like a part of us. Like this is a part of almost like our body, you know, like so many people can't go without it.
Right.
And then it bleeds into all other aspects of your life. Like you start to realize that you're not being as productive as you possibly can by checking this thing all the time, and then you forget like about all the little beautiful things, and that's like being on a bike kind of shows you that you know there's nature. And I think part of one of the greatest things that's happened from Corona is that, you know, less people were driving and whatnot, that our world got to rebound, and that I don't know if you felt this way, and maybe I'm just tripping, but like in the springtime this year when we all were like inside and businesses were closed, everything was closed down, I felt like nature looked way more green, the blossoming of the flowers looked like it was much more vibrant than I remember the year prior. And the year prior, I was working at a job where I put plants outside, and so I was around that every freaking day. But I feel like that
you
now.
appreciated it more.
Yeah.
Probably. Yeah.
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 But behind that screen, all these problems arise of not only like what you're choosing to do with your life, but then like the arguments that you get in with other people. And like some people you don't even know. And then some people you do know that are like your family members. And it's like, it's so destructive to engage in that activity because you're at each other's throats.
Right, when it can be so constructive to be actually having a conversation face to face with somebody.
Yeah.
We have this thing where we sit down and we eat dinner at the table and we put our phones away. And we listen to our 2-year-old and our 4-year-old talk. And it is the greatest thing ever. Like, we actually are interacting with them, and that's such a positive thing to hear your kids talk and tell you stories and tell you. And I said she's 2, she is 2, but she will talk your ear off. She
must get it from her mom.
Yeah, definitely.
But also, you remember those memories much more than the time that you spent on your phone aimlessly scrolling through stuff that you're not going to remember,
and
or that wasn't
with
impactful.
Your kids are going to remember more that, you sat at the dinner table with them and had a good conversation than, what you were laughing at on your phone,
Oh yeah. I work at the Wise, my second job, and there's many times where I've seen parents that have their kids in like sporting programs or whatnot, and they are on, I can only assume like Facebook or something, where they're scrolling or texting people for the entirety of their kids who are performing for them.
Right.
I think there's a lot of kids that would look over at their parents and see the activity that they're doing and be like, they don't care.
They don't care about this, so why should I?
Yeah, exactly. Or like, then I saw a kid go up to his mom and try and talk to her and get her attention, and meanwhile she's just scrolling. And it's just like, pay attention.
Right. There are more things that are important to be connected to than your phone.
Do you think we can survive without technology though? It's like, it's
It
pretty
is a
much.
weird thing. It is a weird thing.
It's like we can't deny its
Yeah.
significance and the great and I will say that social media isn't half bad if you are using it in bits and pieces where you're just trying to connect with your family, maybe people that don't live in the state that you do, and you just want to catch up and see what they're doing. It's great for them.
I think we have to kind of remember that it's a tool and not a part of us. But I think we all have that moment when we can't find our phone.
Yeah.
It's like the end of the world. We spend
Yeah.
so much money on them. It's our lifeline. It's just weird. It's weird how things have changed that we depend on them so much.
You ever have those moments where like you're on the phone and then you're like, where's my phone? And you're like looking around and you're like,
oh wait.
oh my god, it's in my hand. It was in my hand this entire time.
I think we've all done that once or twice.
That's crazy though. But yeah, and then also like people that, it's almost like a knee-jerk reaction where I thought, like, especially those social media apps, what I've read is that they hit that part of our brain that relies on dopamine. So they've done this study on rats before, giving that same, they're not letting the rats look at screens, but they're still hitting that dopamine. And they keep pressing that button, even though meanwhile, they're subduing like their duties as a mouse to like care for the family, eat food, so they start to lose weight and all those things. And that's the same thing with humans, is that they stop taking care of themselves, they stop engaging in new hobbies, they stop getting out and meeting people, they stop going to coffee shops where they could meet more people,
Right, or sit and read a book that's, gonna nurture your mind instead of,
give you ideas, help you expand, help you grow. I think social media partially does that. Like one of the only social media app that I really like is Instagram, because I feel like that's the one that's more positive. I see more positivity on there. I see more creativity. I see more expression, or at least that's the way that I use it. But all the other ones I feel like are just so negatively charged with what you can put out there without really any restriction, which now they're trying to put restriction on. Like even Twitter is trying, like, you make a certain tweet and they don't want people to see it. So they X mark it.
It's like, I do think that social media can be a really great tool, and there's so many things that it can be used for positively. But with that side, there's always gonna be the side of, it's gonna be used negatively.
Yeah,
There's gonna be
people that are gonna abuse it.
Yep. I mean, that's just, and that's with a lot of things, not just with social media. Pretty much, there's always the bad side and the good side.
Yeah. You being as a parent, what do you think about like when your kids get older and they're like, hey, like all my friends have phones, because now kids are getting access to these things at such a younger age. I mean, I remember I got my first phone when I was in 7th grade, but it didn't have the capabilities of like what phones can do now. So it was just like this flip phone where all you could do is text your friends, and I had a limit on how many texts I could send and receive. So it was like 250, and I felt like
and then you were done.
I was stupid because all my other friends had unlimited texting and calling.
Yeah.
But that's my fear, is like if we're becoming more attached to these things, you having kids, like when I decided to have kids, what do you do? Because like their friends have them, and you're like, well, Jared has an iPhone and he has an iPad and an Xbox and all these things.
My parents did 2 things, and my husband's parents also did one of the 2 things as well. But my parents said, when you can pay for it, you can have it, and which means you have a job, which means you actually have a need for it. And when you can drive, when you drive and you have a job, and you can pay for it.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably, there'll be times, and the other thing my parents did, they always had a phone at home, which was actually the family cell phone. So it was still a cell phone, and we could use it to text our friends if we were going to hang out with them, blah, blah, blah. Or if we needed to go somewhere and we needed to have contact with my parents.
Yeah.
It was the family cell phone, so it was kind of like a home phone that could be taken everywhere,
Right.
So I think that's kind of a cool idea.
Yeah.
That way, you still, in the world that we live in, it's good to be able to know where your kids are, for their own safety.
Right.
But at the same time, I think the maturity level needs to also be there. And when you have a job, when you are paying for it, and when you are driving, those are all things that build responsibility.
Yeah. I think that's a really good set of principles to set in place around that thing, because, with anything in life, I think you just have to have balance with it, because if it becomes out of control, then it becomes like this compulsive behavior where I have to check it all the time. And like,
this has to go on, I'm doing something, this has to go on social media.
Right.
That's one thing that really does bother me, is like, when I'm with my friends and we're doing something interesting, when I'm with family and we're doing something interesting, whoever I'm with, and there's always that one person that has to put everything on social media instead of enjoying the moment that they're in.
FOMO.
Yes.
Fear of missing out.
Yeah.
They want to document their life. And let me clarify, I think there are important things, like let's say you go on a trip to a state that you've never been to, document it. But don't be on your phone the whole time, because what was the purpose of going to take that trip?
Don't get me wrong, I have thousands of photos on my phone. Very rarely do I post things on social media. I don't know, I feel like those moments are for me and the people I was with.
Right.
Sometimes it's like, I want to share something, and it's a fun way to share it. Like, anytime we announced our pregnancies, or things like that, we also always put it on social media, things like that. And every now and again, it's fun to do. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but not everything,
Yeah. Yeah, and I wanted to say that I think that from people that have built that in as a pattern in their life, that it seems like they can't get out of them, because it's such an addictive thing. Like, this material object is such an addictive thing when really you don't need it, other than the basic necessities of like getting a hold of people, like your kids, if their car broke down or something.
Like I said, it's a good tool. Yeah.
Right. But I think it just distracts people, and I think that that's partly why a lot of people can't deal with their thoughts. Or I'm not saying that like depression and anxiety were on the rise just because of phones, but I think they're a huge part of it, because also like you're on there and you're comparing yourself to other people. But if you're like compulsively checking, that same thing happens when you have these disconcerting thoughts or these intrusive thoughts, and you almost believe it because you just check this thing, and so you like when you have a thought like that, you just run and you chase it, and you almost want to figure out where that came from and why did that appear. Where what I've been doing lately, and what I think a lot of people should try doing, is meditation, is just being aware of your thoughts. But Also, meditation doesn't necessarily, I'm not saying that it wouldn't work if you were still checking social media, but I realize that to receive better benefits from meditation, you have to put your phone away more.
Yeah.
Because it's a distraction. And so then you start cutting that distractive force, but then it's also those distractive thoughts that you chase.
Mm-hmm.
And so then when you cut that out, then you can start actually really focusing in when you decide to meditate. And then when those thoughts arise, you don't buy into them. You see them, it's a crazy thing with meditation is that you realize that thoughts are not reality.
Yeah.
Thoughts shape your reality, but you don't have to believe the thoughts that are produced.
And that kind of goes back to what you're saying is, like social media and stuff, is a lot of times as humans, reading is always something that we like. You read something and it's, it affects you more than just somebody saying something.
Yeah.
Reading something affects you more. You almost believe it more. And so when you're reading all those comments and all those things on Facebook or whatever, you tend to take it to heart more.
Yes.
And so it affects you more.
Yes.
And that's why I think it's such a good thing, kind of like bring this back home, to like come to a coffee shop and maybe don't have your phone, have a book, have a friend to talk to, something like that. That can kind of ground you and keep you away from the things that are going to be like, oh, well, somebody said that I didn't really look good in this picture, or whatever you read on there. You need to get away from that so much. It's not all truth. Just because you read it doesn't mean it's true.
No, and that's what I'm saying is like it's such a toxic way to start your day by instantly checking that thing because you start comparing yourself to other people. I don't really have social media on my phone anymore just because I just don't really want to. And like I think the way to relate this whole point is what's going on in the world is if you're constantly scrolling on Facebook reading the opposing side, that's going to charge you up all day, and then you're going to think about it and you're not going to be able to let it go and move on. And so I used to do it where I told myself I can't check social media or like emails until noon because I want to get my stuff done. And I think it's a really good, like you were saying, these principles that you put in place for your kids and that when your parents taught you with the phone is like, you have to keep yourself accountable and realize that this thing, it's a great tool. It is a tool and you can use it to your benefit, but you have to put a cap off point on it, and you have to set restrictions, and then you can reward yourself. But I would even say when you reward yourself, you shouldn't aimlessly scroll like for your entire day. It's just something to check up on. But yeah.
And I mean, it's also good not only to keep yourself. Sometimes it's easier to keep yourself accountable with those kind of things. If you have somebody else that keeps you accountable too. Like me and my husband will do that with each other.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, hey, come on, let's be with the family right now. Okay,
Right.
Okay, put it down. You know?
Right.
Things like that. You know, somebody to kind of like bring you back to reality because you can stray from reality.
I do that quite often.
Yeah.
I mean that's kind of like what I, not only for the purpose of getting rid of the phone and then finding discipline through these challenges, is that we all have urges, or like I was saying earlier about these habits that you've gotten used to with coffee, or like that really good stimulant that's giving you so many good experiences. And it's still going to be an important aspect of my life moving forward, but this is kind of a tool with meditation, is like I have this urge to drink coffee, but instead of just giving into it, I have the presence of mind to step away. And same thing with the phone. It's like, I don't need these things.
Right.
And you know what? I could accomplish so much more this summer, whether it be with my podcast, whether it be with trying to get my own apartment, whether it be with trying to meet new people, whether it be like trying to finally get a girlfriend. I don't know if that'll ever happen. Going on a trip, it's like I can do all those things and I can be so much more productive without it. And I can still use it sparingly here and there, now and then.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a time waster.
It is.
For sure. It's a time waster.
Yeah.
And time is precious. I mean, time's money.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I agree. I think that the more time you spend on your phone, the more time you're gonna spend on your phone. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's just like it sucks you in.
Yeah, and I think it's also just going to create worse habits for you in other areas of your life. So if it's another thing like you start skipping out the gym, or you're not eating as healthy as you possibly could, if there's like those moments like you were saying that, if you're scrolling through your phone a little bit and then you kind of realize like, man, I'm kind of getting irritated or tired, like maybe it's time to step away. I'm sure a lot of people have that thought when they're using technology, but they just keep going, like, I got 15 minutes to kill. And meanwhile, again, it's a powerful decision. It's like, you wake up in the morning, the first thing you should do is like set up your bed and then do something like meditation, or like the goal, or the to-do list that you set the night before. If you put that off and then you start checking your phone, you're just telling yourself that those things are important, or you can put them off, or then you become a procrastinator.
Right.
And I've seen it happen. I've seen it happen to so many people. And I also can say that it's happened to me. And that's why I realize I have an issue with discipline. I don't know if it's necessarily like because of the way that I was raised, but I know it's probably growing up with a phone. I grew up on that thing. Yeah. And everybody my age is, for the most part, the same way too.
Yeah. I am actually kind of a procrastinator too. And
that's surprising as a
I
business
know, right?
owner.
I know.
Yeah, you feel like you'd be on the ball. No slacking off on the job.
See, the thing is like I know that I am, so I'm like a list writer. So I like write myself lists and like, okay, you have to get this done by this time, otherwise it's gonna be bad.
Yeah.
But I actually get it from my dad. My dad's the same way, and I didn't know I did until I talked to him about it a few months ago, and he was telling me, and he's like, I think it actually stems a little bit from arrogance and
procrastination.
Yes.
Arrogance. Okay.
Listen. So he's like, because I feel like, and this is exactly what I do. So it was like him telling me exactly what I was doing by him telling me what he does. He's like, oh, I can get it done in this amount of time.
Yeah.
Oh, I can get it done in this amount of time.
Yeah.
Oh, I can get it. Oh, I have 30 minutes left. If I do this and this, I can get it done. And like, it's like, oh, I know myself.
Right.
I can do that.
Isn't that the crazy thing though? That then all of a sudden you become productive when you know that things are on the line. Like you put it off, and it would have been a lot smarter so that you wouldn't stress at the deadline.
And maybe you would have done it better.
And then you're like, I didn't have to go to the coffee shop this late at night and get the caffeine surge to finish my essay. Yeah, but I think a lot of people have problems with it. I certainly do, and it's gotten better. But my thing with procrastination is I think that I'm more of like a perfectionist, and so I think like when I want to sit down and do those things that I know are like good for me and need to be accomplished, it's like I just feel like it's gonna take so much time.
If you can't do it the right way, then why would you? Yeah.
It's not worth it, which is just so odd, because the whole wrong idea about perfectionism is that no one's perfect.
Yeah.
And I think the things that happen perfectly are almost just coincidental. The things that you don't plan for. And that's kind of like what I think about my podcast is like I always try and be reflective and see what I've done wrong on other podcasts. Things that felt clunky, felt weird, like didn't really fit. And I realized that like I think it's really helpful to talk to somebody beforehand to get obviously the awkward juices out of the way. But it's like I gotta slow down, and I also have to appreciate just the conversation, because I like doing this outside of a podcast.
Yeah.
That I should incorporate that into this instead of feeling like, I'm trying to
provide talking points all the time.
Provide something like very grand and that people are gonna like, and if I'm not like on the ball, that people find this boring, and it's almost like that little anxiety ticker in the back of your head that's noticing all those things when you're in a conversation with somebody. But if you let that go, things seem to flow more organically.
Right, yeah. You actually have an interesting conversation instead of it seeming like mechanical.
Yeah. Well, I think that's the problem with interviews. Is like I don't really write questions when I come to do a podcast, because I feel like that's what's making it so choppy, and it's not really a conversation. It's like you just have an answer.
It's not a conversation. It's
Right.
an interview. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. So yeah, that's just my approach to these podcasts, and I think that that's the way that they'll get better, or they'll get back to the way that it started, because that was my whole mission in starting this thing. Was it's a passion of mine to talk to people, but then also it's like I really do want to bring on people that provide insight